they decided to, one, break up the Last Supper, and you're seeing bits of it in the beginning of each show. So
Each episode.
7 different segments of like breaking up the Last Supper into these segments. But that's bad enough, I think, already by the fact that you're breaking up a very momentous moment. To top it off, they show it backwards. They literally break it up into 7 segments and decide to show the last part first, and then, you know...
And I'm confused.
And so,
where are we?
You're not going to have a full, clear understanding of that scene.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, you even forgot that they did the whole bread and the wine.
The communion.
The communion. You're like, yeah, they showed that.
Because he is the communion. He is the Passover.
Yeah.
Jesus is the Passover.
I'm sorry. And I'm sure even fans, you have to admit, that was disappointing. That was disappointing.
That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous and blasphemous.
Yeah.
You want to do blasphemy? That's why.
Yeah, and the reason I say it's blasphemous, we say it's blasphemous, is because, again, it was confusion.
It was confusion, and confusion is the
work
baby
of the devil,
is the baby of the devil, you know,
Yeah.
basically. And so he Da Vinci coded. I would call it that. I said, what is it with the
Last Supper?
The Last Supper. You know, where you have the Olympics, they they pissed on it, you know, and then they got all of a sudden Paris went black at night, except for one little church on a hill. You know, what is it that the movie itself was by Dan Brown. You know, he Da Vinci coded. You know,
did something weird with that. Yeah,
weird. I'm sure some weird stuff happened. You know, of course
they tried to say.
Of course, it was Tom Hanks, and you know that makes some sense. That makes perfect sense.
You know, again, this is the moment. This is the Passover dinner. That's the Last Supper.
Is Jesus telling us, "I am the bread broken for you. I am the wine that
my blood,
spilled for you." And that is being totally torn to pieces.
I think it's interesting. We see the world mess with that, and I find it interesting that even here he messed with it. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. Film is a culmination of all the arts. It is also the most deceptive art form. Moving pictures are an illusion in and of itself. Yes, film has told great stories, but its origins are deceit. This podcast will look at films and weigh them for their merit, so that you will be armed to resist deception. Hi, welcome to Nightstone Film Revelations. Today we are looking at The Chosen series, directed by Dallas Jenkins. The Chosen is a multi-season series about the life and ministry of Jesus Christ, primarily set in Judea and Galilee in the 1st century. The series depicts Jesus' life through the eyes of the people who interacted with him, including the 12 disciples of Jesus, Jewish religious leaders, Roman government officials, and ordinary people. So we want to talk about what we've noticed is, I guess, some deception or some problems with the Chosen series. And I do want to preface that we're not coming at this just being overly critical for no reason.
Yeah, we don't want to be hypercritical.
We actually enjoyed the series quite a bit when it first came out. When I'd say the first 4 seasons, were good and enjoyable.
Generally good.
Although we are going to mention some things we noticed even in those seasons. But especially as we've analyzed the series, and particularly after the 5th season, we've started to see some deceptions.
Right, and especially as we've grown in our faith, as we move along, there's some things that
are really problematic, especially possibly misleading people.
Right, especially young Christians, baby Christians, people searching.
And we noticed, now that we notice it even in the 5th, we started to know some problems that even from the earlier seasons as well. And so we're going to address that so that you won't be deceived.
Yeah, we are living in the end times.
Yeah.
We need to not be deceived, including through TV shows.
Yeah, especially TV shows about
because people live with them longer. Especially TV shows. Because people live with TV shows longer than they do a film in the movie theater. So
and we're just going to jump right in and start off with some of the first things we noticed. Now that we're looking back, some of the problems that become problematic.
Right. What pulled the wool off our eyes was season 5. So that kind of actually made us look back at some of the stuff. Because I enjoyed watching it again leading up to the next new season. And now we're seeing problems that can be detrimental to people's knowledge and faith. And as it says in Hosea, people perish for lack of knowledge. And there is some issues here that could create those perishings.
So I think one of the things that was deceptive early on, you could hypothetically think that maybe some women learned to write, but I think this thing they made it that Mary started to learn to write, and even though traditionally women didn't learn to read and write, at least not till later, probably after Jesus
after he ascended, and then we're starting going to the 2nd and 3rd century maybe, but women didn't know how to write even during the Renaissance period. So it was just not part of a woman's, I would say, the culture of women at that time. Especially a common woman. Yeah,
I mean, even a lot of men didn't even know how to read and write during that time.
There were men who didn't know how to read and write by the time we got to World War II. So it was not part of the culture, and to kind of jump into that and make her someone who knew Hebrew well.
Yeah, well, and this became problematic because they eventually made it that in the 4th season, I think they showed like a flash forward where she was writing her own account, which is basically implying that there's this book of Mary that's missing from the Bible. Which is interesting. I was reading a book called The Case for Christ where they talked about how even Catholics don't believe that book has any credence, that it actually was a fake. And
it just creates confusion. It also creates it's divisive, and it derides the authority of God, and it makes women, as per usual, women are going to go, what? It makes them into,
like, why wasn't it in the Bible?
Christianese feminists. It's going to turn them into that. And then and here comes the rebellion, and here comes the power mic. And next you know, she wants to be a pastor. It does all of that, and just even showing that, my mouth kind of dropped. It creates confusion, and the god of confusion, well, is Satan. So.
Yeah, and that's like some of the things we're going to be pointing out in this whole series. Is there's bits like that brings confusion. And which is that's the work of the devil. I
will just a quick critique of that. Why is Mary living in a cave? I mean, I thought, okay, it's a little dramatic. It's a bit.
That person that was with her just seemed weird. I don't know. It was just like, I have no idea what culture she's supposed to be part of.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. What's with the William Tell girl? I thought that was a weird moment. Just no.
That did stick out to me too. It was a little weird. But, and then the other thing that I think that definitely stood out, this I noticed when it first aired, and I thought was problematic, was the no siblings.
Jesus had siblings. Jesus, 2 of his siblings write 2 of the books of the Bible. And to not acknowledge that is basically appeasing people who don't believe in the natural existence of a couple. Mary and Joseph
would have had other
children. I mean, Joseph's a bigger man than most people, if that's the case. And he was not a infallible, priest or something. I don't know.
He wasn't a eunuch.
He wasn't a eunuch. He was a man. He was married to a woman.
And it says so in the Bible.
It said that he waited 8 weeks. I remember I was taken
before he knew her, and we all
before he knew her, and we all know what know means. I told that to a nun in school, and I know what no means. I got taken to the principal's office because she did have that. She and Mary and Joseph had a natural marital relationship.
And there's a passage in the Bible too when Jesus tells his hometown that he's the Messiah, and they say like, don't we know your brothers are living with us, and your sisters are married to our. They say that. It's like when they say brothers and sisters, I'm thinking this.
They're talking about his siblings.
Just that phrase sounds like at least like 3 brothers and maybe 3 sisters at least.
At least.
And frankly,
and 2 of them wrote 2 of the books of the Bible, Jude and James. So it's like.
Not to mention, you really have to think about it. People, again, having children was a blessing, and don't you think that the womb that was blessed by the Son of God would be very fertile?
I mean, imagine even when he was left at the temple when he was 12 and they were missing him. They were counting heads like in Home Alone.
Probably.
They probably get back in the caravan. And 1, 2, that scene in Home Alone where they were counting all the heads and they missed him, and they all wearing their little hats, and then he goes 12. And then they're riding along, going back to home, and they go, I'm missing something. I don't know what it is. Joseph, what it is? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I know. I left a sack of grain. That's what it was. Okay, no. And she goes, Jesus! And then they run through the airport, the O'Hare airport, and get back to it. The Paris airport,
And honestly, it was normal back then for people to have like 6 to 7 children. 6 to 7
kids.
So and then we're talking about the blessed womb, She probably had like 12 kids.
Yeah, she probably did. Yeah, and they miscounted, and they thought, Jesus was with the other sibs, and then one of them, and then Jude said, Daddy, where's Jesus? What do you mean, where's Jesus?
Isn't that him?
No.
Who is that?
Who is that? So,
it's one of our servants. Oh.
Oh, well, where's Jesus? And they have to stop the whole caravan and run back to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they even said that they basically implied, you obey us. Don't do that again, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and that was just, I didn't like that they did that.
Yeah,
I felt like
not acknowledging.
Also, it just seemed like, again, a waste of an opportunity. The way that they were showing
to show
Chosen,
what is in the scriptures.
Well, also it was a waste of opportunity. The way they were showing Chosen, having how Jesus interacted with the disciples, I felt like it would have been interesting to see how he'd react
to his siblings.
How siblings would feel by having the perfect oldest brother.
Well, also too that they didn't believe that he was the Messiah yet. Because what a beautiful outcome, and would have been an interesting flash forward to see Jude and James writing their books, knowing who their brother really is. He's not just their brother, he's their Lord and Savior.
Because we know there's a part too where he does ask if they came, but I think they left it vague on purpose to appease those who don't believe they believe that Mary is still a virgin. Okay, whatever. But there's that. Another thing that always bothered me a little bit, even when I was watching it at the time, was they try to make Jesus relatable by making him jokes and stuff, and there were times where his jokes were like, it was one of those jokes where it's technically a lie, where it's like, I forgot he would say something, and they're like, really? And
I like the sense of humor. I thought it was that's
and I think they had some jokes that weren't bad.
Yeah, that were humorous, but when you make jokes that end up being lies,
like technically a lie, it's like, well, Jesus never lies.
He never lies,
even as a joke,
because he's fully God. Therefore, not fully man. So he did not lie.
He would say, he was perfect. I'm sure he did joke, and I'm sure he had
wit.
He had wit, humor. But I really doubt that. He even says that.
He talks about that when the Pharisees were harping about hand washing. He talks about what goes in the body. Comes out another way. Oh, right. He was being witty, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell, and they.
But his wit would all be based off of truth. He wouldn't say like, "Oh, I did this." And I think there's sometimes with jokes where he would say, "I did this," and the disciples are like, "Really?" And they're like, "No, I'm just joking." He wouldn't joke like that.
He wouldn't joke.
You're making Jesus lie.
Yeah, and he doesn't do that. Yeah,
no.
Right.
So those are the things we know, particularly with the first.
Generally speaking, even though we enjoyed it, those things that kind of put our antennas up and kind of ring our little, go, oh, what was that?
Yeah, but the fifth season is where there was a lot of problems.
Fifth season is where I just kind of I'm not interested in seeing the sixth because of that.
It's.
I don't want to have my. It was terrible.
It was bad. I mean, you could tell they were drawing it out too. But one of the first things I noticed in the season that was like just unnecessary.
It was so unnecessary, and I would say slightly juvenile to even bring it up. It's just,
and it makes you. It makes you wonder, why were they doing that? Okay, so there's a part where John is going with his father to deliver the oil to the temple, and the Pharisee there is saying, you cannot enter here if you've lain with a woman, or if you
anything impure, unclean.
And he listed the spilling your seed, in the night or something like that. Right. And they imply very clearly that that's why John steps aside. He can't go in there, and
which was unnecessary to do.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I have no problem with, I guess, the idea that you could consider, that obviously that can happen to men, splitting the seed in the night. But when they end up talking about it later with that other guy, they talk about it saying that it's as if the Pharisees don't think we're human.
Was that other guy going to be the guy that gets his ear cut off?
I think so.
He's going to be the guy in the garden that's going to get his ear cut. Malchus.
And even though they mentioned that, the Pharisees added the 7 days, we have to be clean for 7 days, it just really felt like they were trying to say that the Torah itself was not correct, and I feel like they were just.
But it's
dismantling the Bible a little bit. I feel like
now you're starting to contend with inconvenient truths that are truths. Yeah,
it almost seemed like by saying it's like they don't think we're human. It almost seemed like, so are you saying you want to enter into the temple, where what they thought was the presence of God?
Right, the holiest of holies or whatever.
And
unclean.
Unclean.
So you want to defy what God had created after He brought His people out of Egypt and set up the temples and stuff. You were saying that's what. Old hat or old news,
because according to the Torah, now in the Torah, it's that you have to clean yourself and then you're clean by sundown. You can't go into there until sundown. So it just, but the idea is that you had to do that, otherwise if you entered the presence of God defiled, you'd like be struck dead or something, you know.
Right, and he was trying to set his people apart. This is going back to the Torah. Yeah. This was a very specific thing because they came out of Egypt where they were just, you know, they were slaves and they were trashy and they were uncouth and they were unclean. Yeah. And so he made these commandments and edicts to purify his people.
Yeah,
you know.
And I feel like what they were trying to do there is what I've seen in a lot of, I'd say, crunchy Christian folk, is this idea of, well, now that I'm saved, my sin isn't defiling. Yeah, it's kind of what I feel like a lot of bad Christians end up saying. It's like, no, your sin is still defiled.
Yeah, we're not saying that Jenkins is a bad Christian. We're saying that
no, but I'm just saying
but this
what
is
they're saying
This
there.
is the Christianese that's coming out of the churches.
Yeah,
and I would say the thoughts.
And I just feel like what they were kind of putting out there kind of seemed to like almost
dance
in that realm. Yeah, a little bit. And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
They made it that John was studying without everyone, you know, secretly that Greek mythology stories.
Yeah, and him and informing Jesus, who by the way would know. When he's fully God, he's sovereign. Yeah, I know who Plato is.
Right. I mean, I think they imply that he know, but like, but to make it that
make John would know that he's this learned boy.
When and how.
And when and how. He was a fisherman.
Again,
he's the son of Zebedee.
I think we take for granted, again, how much information we have accessible to us now, that they can do this little lie.
Yeah, it was a weird little implication that he also, it's the only place he would know to get the scrolls of the mythology is in the Greek temples, which were the libraries of their day, and that would have been impure for him to go there.
Secret, you know, little conversations with Greek people who
there's a little stash of scrolls.
Yeah, because it's not like there was a library around the corner.
Yeah, and then he wouldn't have known that. He would have known what he was taught in the temple as a boy.
Yeah, and that was just
all the way up to his.
And I think that was just an excuse to give those extra scenes that they had.
Yeah, because they're drawing it out. The fifth season, they're drawing out everything. Yeah. My goodness, and then they made him they made him look like a soy boy. He looked like a ancient soy boy. You know, the neckline was cut a little too.
Yeah, we know. So it's just like change in his costume.
His costume was changed.
Subtle, but
I noticed it because I costume. I design costumes. I also build costumes. I know exactly what they were doing. I'm thinking I wouldn't have put that on. He would have had a crew neck tee. Tunic. All of a sudden, it was kind of cut across. And then his hair, and he was a little skinny. I don't know if they told him. It accentuated his thinness. Yeah. But also, his hair was a little too foo-foo.
In fact, there might have been eyeliner.
He had a little eyeliner on, and they were making him into a little soy boy and making him be a guy who tiptoes in through the tulips. You know, and I was like, what are you doing? What are you saying? And I feel, and you probably will reiterate or add on to it, that they were trying to imply that since he was going to be a celibate man.
Well, yeah, so I think it's
John
historically thought that John, we know that he lived to like 90s, and it's historically thought that he never married. And so, well, combining that thought
that
with
what... That he would remain a virgin.
That he would remain a virgin, remain celibate.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't wrap their brain around that.
A lot of people can't.
Particularly even... Christians. They can't wrap their brain around. If you listen to, I'm going to say his name, Andy Stanley. He says it's not sustainable.
Yeah, and so
speak for yourself, bub.
It's interesting that they think that because it's just how the world thinks too.
Yeah, and I would say that in the Christianese world, you know, of Christianese language, they think that the only thing that can save you from your amorous night distribution of your man gravy is marriage. And so how could you possibly a virgin all your life and think how could you not, you know.
And people tend to think, and I've had this assumed of me as well, you know, that like if you're not with someone it's because
you're tiptoeing to the tulips. You know, and that's an unfair thing. They think that you can't think on higher things. Yeah, you can't think on things that that does not pertain to the conjugal rights of marriage. And to say that and to imply that, and I feel like they were implying that by making him tiptoe through the tulips instead of being a man of God, a man following Jesus, who's going to one day write one of the most significant gospels. They're all significant, but he's going to write the power packing gospel of Jesus Christ. And he can't. How could he? And that was implied because as a costumer, and I'm talking as a costumer, my job is to make sure men are supposed to look like how they're supposed to look in their character.
You noticed the subtle differences at the costume, or you were able to realize that with
Daenerys is going crazy.
In
I could tell when she landed on the beach. There was
just how they costumed her.
Just how they costumed her. She was wearing the dark, and it was kind of scale, but there was little red coming out. Oh no, the blood's coming out. She's gonna burn this city. Yeah. I just knew it from that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
that was season 6. I'm like, she's gonna burn this city because of the costume. 7. Yeah. Because the costumes was saying that. I could tell in Succession that Kendall was gonna drop the bomb on his father because he wasn't wearing Tom Ford anymore. He was wearing Giorgio Armani and brown, and that's a hero cut and a hero color. Yeah. I can tell because that's what. And so here they're having him a little feminizing him, and I was like, what the heck?
And I noticed they even like start to separate him from his brother.
Yeah,
who who's very masculine.
And that's not fair, and that's wrong. It's because a lot of Christianese cannot fathom being a virgin man of God who's thinking on different things.
Yeah, and to think, like, come on, we're talking about John here. He walked with Jesus. He saw him die and resurrected and ascend.
Yeah.
He was there at Pentecost. He's received the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, and this is a deception.
You don't think that he can think on other things,
Yeah, and so the Christianese, I've seen, more rough around the edge preachers calling men who are virgins incels. I think you're making a gross assumption about people. You don't know people's hearts. But as a costumer, as a and as a filmmaker, I know what they're doing here. I was like, what are you doing?
Don't be surprised if you watch the 6th season. They're going to try and go further.
They're going to push a little harder. I'm already out. I'm already out. 5 was enough for me. I feel like I got bludgeoned. And disappointed, deeply disappointed in this debacle. I would say it's a debacle, and for those who are weak, new Christians, searching Christians, people who are broken-hearted and things like that. This is a deception that, in that particularly, just in the costume alone, is saying that the only thing that can remedy your amorous, issues is marriage. Using marriage as a antibiotic to you, which is unholy in itself, because now you're going to bring whatever that was in the world into your marriage. And I've seen preachers talk about sex too much and everything, because they think that's the only solution. I mean, if it's not, then you're either an incel or you are tiptoeing through the tulips. Yeah. Or, that's what my uncle used to say. Lighten the loafers, playing for the other team. Yeah. And that's not fair to assume that. That's a very worldly, and fleshly way of thinking about someone who can remain a virgin their whole life because God has called them to something higher than, getting your groove on. Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it is possible.
It is possible.
To be voluntarily celibate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's that. Another thing too that was just completely inaccurate was them staying at a Gentile house in the 5th season.
Yeah, it goes along with John talking about the paintings on the wall and everything. Yeah, like, whoa, what are they doing here?
Just because, again, in the Bible, it even talks about when Peter eventually is told by God to go to this Gentile house. The whole idea was that he was like, "What are you talking about? This is a place of unclean people."
Yeah, Peter had resistance to it in the Gospels later after Jesus ascended in Acts, and he's like, "What? I'm not going there."
Yeah, and God says, "Don't say something's unclean that I'm making
because
unclean,
because Jesus, after he ascended, all things have been made new again, and also to same rules but new rules apply to that,
making God's family bigger,
right? Going into the Gentiles,
But so they wouldn't have stayed there, and they literally had them trying to clean the house for Passover, which is according to how Jewish
every
tradition,
Levitical rabbi is about priest is about to pass out.
You'd have to burn the place. That's how
can you imagine the Levitical priest in the book of Leviticus going, "What are you doing? Yeah. Oh my God." You can't do that. You can. Now you're unclean. I can't be around you. That's just no. Again, is that I don't know if that's ignorance or deliberately trying to deceive people to dismantle the Torah.
I don't know if it's about dismantling Torah, but I definitely think it was deliberate because they wanted John to have that conversation.
That weird tiptoe through the tulips, I know stuff conversation.
About Greek stuff conversation.
Yeah, with a couple of lattes, and some soy lattes together.
Yeah, so that's what I think it was basically, I think they knew it was inaccurate, but they thought they were hoping people wouldn't notice.
I don't know who's sitting around his table doing this stuff.
Another thing I didn't like, by the way, about this season, and actually it's a little bit of something I've seen throughout it a little bit, was this whole where they had Jesus, I feel like, over-explain some of the stuff that was in the Bible. Like, there's obviously sometimes in the Bible where the disciples literally ask him, what would that parable mean? And Jesus did explain.
Yeah, like the sower and seed. Yeah, that's in Scripture.
But there were sometimes even in the previous seasons where they had Jesus kind of over-explain something that wasn't over-explained in the Bible. And this season they did the same thing, and I feel like they did the worst in this part was when Jesus is talking to the crowd in the temple, and it's the moment where basically someone asks him, should we pay taxes? And he says, in the Bible, it's pay unto Caesar what is Caesar, and
give unto God what is
God's. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar, and give unto God what is God.
End of story. The end.
That's like pretty much mostly what he says there, and they had him just kind of over-explain, like, well, taxes go to paving roads and stuff like that.
It became word salad. It became quickly into word salad. Because I'm thinking, who are you trying to explain? Who are you trying to convince us?
Yeah.
Because listen, again, Christian Yeezys obsess over taxes.
And I feel like when you start doing that, it's like, okay, you're adding to the words of Jesus. It's one thing to be like Jesus saying, "Hey, how's it going? What's your how's your day?" Yeah. We can flesh him out.
Yeah, like when he asked about did you put lemon in the thing? Yeah, that was kind of cute.
That's one thing. Yeah. But it's another thing when you take literally his lessons in the Bible and start
embellishing
on it. That's embellishment. That's
putting your own agenda on it.
Yeah, putting words into Jesus' mouth.
It felt like a little bit of agenda, because you know how Christian Yeezys, especially American Christian Yeezys, taxes.
Because he was basically saying
they bitch about the taxes all the time.
They made him say, like, well, these taxes pay for roads, therefore it's okay to give it to. In a sense, are you saying? So if it didn't, would you say then we don't have to pay taxes?
Yeah, all he said was obey the authority that was placed over it by saying that give Caesar unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and what is God's God. You say that now because people go, yeah, but my taxes are going to weapons and yeah. It doesn't. I don't care.
Basically, I think Jesus is saying not to worry about money.
Not to worry about money.
Yeah. Give to God what is God. Your love, your obedience to God. What does God ask of us to love our neighbor?
He'll take care of your money issues.
It's so like seek the kingdom and all else will.
Right, and also not to worry about it. It never occurred to me to worry about my taxes. One reason because I've always heard that. That commandment and the instruction from Jesus. Do you give unto Caesar what is Caesar's? Yeah. Even if you don't like Caesar and you don't like what he's doing with your money, I don't look at my paycheck and go, oh my God, Caesar's taking so much. I just don't think about that. And then you give them to what is God's. We tithe, because none of it's yours anyway. Yeah. None of this is yours.
And they kind of reiterated that even in that scene, but I just really don't like it when you start embellishing on what is said, what Jesus said in the Bible.
It became word salad.
Because here's the thing too. I think if you read the words, this is the word of God, you can, each person reading is going to get the understanding that God wants them to have.
Right.
And the idea is it's not like it's different. It's not different. It's just each person's going to understand it.
In the way God wants them to understand it at the time that they're hearing it.
And so to embellish on it is like you're giving your understanding.
Yeah. So it's not.
And again, I'm not saying it's a different understanding per person. It's just I'm talking about like the way.
You're giving them your agenda.
Yeah. You're kind of giving.
It's not
by embellishing.
It's not Jenkins and his little round table's job to pipe out, I would say, a little sliver of propaganda.
Yeah. It's again, it's just putting words.
And then he'll say, "Well, it's just a TV show." Oh, okay. Then in 1 minute it's a ministry, next minute it's a TV show. So okay, whatever. Either way, there's some deception. Yeah. Propaganda is a sliver, even if it's just a sliver of it. Yeah. It's propaganda, which means it's deception.
And it's adding to the Bible.
It's adding to the Bible.
But again, like I said, it's one thing to talk about complimenting the way you made food. It's another thing to rearrange the
red letters. His red letters.
Yeah, his red letters. Yeah. Okay, and that's blasphemous. I'd say.
It's bordering on blasphemy.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, too. Like, I remember when when it first came out, that was my main concern about this show. Is like there is no guardrails at all by using most other depictions will stick a lot closer to the scripture. And I remember thinking, well, this is interesting because I'd like to flesh out the disciples.
Sure.
I remember being a little concerned though, like, but there's
and there's only one man.
There's no parameters. To you know.
Yeah, I mean he's a captain on a submarine ship, and he's got the nucular codes. He's got the physical codes. He's got the roster. He's got both keys. To the nuclear codes and everything. And so not one man can operate this machine.
Yeah,
there's no accountability to anyone.
Yeah, and not even necessarily the Bible as accountability.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what Bible he's reading.
Yeah, I do have a WTF moment. I do feel like it's and another one later, but the Jesus having visions. That was just.
Jesus is so straightforward in the Bible. You don't need to.
I understand what he was trying to do, but I think it was way too esoteric for people to understand it. But
and it was clunky.
Yeah, it was clunky in the fact that it's like it completely broke from the chosen style.
Yeah, he lost his style. Well, that's what happens when you give people more money.
So for those who haven't seen it, there's basically as Jesus is getting closer to the moment where the night before he's going to be arrested. It's like the burden of what's about to happen is weighing on him more. So they I guess decided to depict this by him seeing visions of like the past in the stuff in the Bible, like with David, and like seeing I think it was a gate in the temple in Jerusalem that has something to do with sacrifice, I think. Seeing the temple, I think, being destroyed. It was a bunch of different visions, but it was I think what they were trying to go for was this idea of like when people are extremely stressed that they might start seeing things, maybe, or like seeing memories. And I think they were thinking, well, since Jesus is God, God's memories are like beyond time and stuff like that. And again, that's where I'm saying it's a little esoteric. I feel like it's like I feel like a lot of people are just going to think he's just seeing visions. Which is not in the Bible. Again,
it's not in the Bible.
And that's my main problem. It's like, if Jesus saw a vision, they would have said so.
They would have said so. I mean, he is the vision. It's like, what is this?
I
just felt like it was overreaching again, and that just comes from one man running the show, and now I think there's a slight, and this is just my opinion. This is just my it's my opinion that he's becoming a Christian-easy megalomaniac. It's a little megalomaniac.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later too, about just the hubris of being the only director and all that stuff.
But I'm sorry, the visions is who in the hell do you think you are telling us what God is thinking and envisioning his visions and breaking him down in such a way that is like he's like everyone else. He's not like everyone else. He's the Son of God.
And that's the thing is, I think they lost the thread. And this is why it's like this is what I was worried about when I first heard of the series. Is that I think they were thinking, okay, so we're embellishing around Jesus. We're embellishing the disciples and how they thought of him, and so I think they thought that was fine. But I think they've blurred the embellishing to now what Jesus is experiencing and things like that. I just
think that's you're going where angels fear to tread.
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly,
whoa, and I think that's coming from and this is just my opinion again, I don't know how much is he in the scriptures as just a lowly Christian man versus a filmmaker, a realizer, with his mission, and all the stuff that goes with it. Yeah. I feel like, do you ever sit by a fire with a pipe and shut up, mow your lawn, have a calm little moment, and have a Holy Spirit driven thing? Because I'm sorry, that is not Holy Spirit driven. No. In fact, that is, if it's esoteric, that is
and again, it's confusion.
It's anti-spirit of God.
Yeah, and this is where it's leading back to what this
confusion.
All problem of all this is the confusion. People were saying like, so Jesus had visions? Like, well, no, it's not. It doesn't say that in the Bible. God. It's so you're confusing people.
Yeah, and he's God. It's also equivocating him to us, and we are, no. God is Jesus is God.
Yeah, he was fully God and fully man. So yes, we know.
When you say fully man, that means he had to piss in a pot.
And then he had, maybe he
got hungry.
Making him have a dream of John earlier, that was fine. People have dreams.
Yeah, I mean, again, speculative.
Speculative. It did feel a little necromancy-ish.
And it's dancing on that line.
Yeah,
I just think, how about you die? How about you not do that?
About that? But maybe he
needed his feet washed. Okay, maybe he was tired after healing people all day. That's the fully man part. While he's being holy God.
Sure. got tired.
He liked the taste of Martha's sandwiches. That's human.
Yeah.
You know, and it's upfront and honest. That's an honesty to that.
He knew humor. He could have humor. He could,
Right. Yeah. Him saying that
dance.
Lazarus stinked after he called him out. You know, you need a bath. Yeah, because that's a logical assessment of someone who just was laying down for 5 days.
And that's where I feel like this is a shame about this show, is that I really did feel like it did a good job of making fleshing out Jesus,
without overstepping your boundaries.
Well, I feel like it did a good job of that because a lot of people do have this kind of statuesque idea of Jesus and not realizing that he is intimate and loves us and intimate.
And he walked among us. And he's with us now. So he was Emmanuel then. Remember, he was called Emmanuel in Isaiah.
Means God with us.
So he was literally Emmanuel with them then. You know, God with us. God with them, God with us. So so he's relatable. He's relatable to us now. We can talk to him. I talk to Jesus all the time. We can talk to him,
as casually as they kind of showed him.
And I said, Jesus, I don't want to watch this anymore. This is a piece of crap. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's turning into blasphemy.
It's turning into blasphemy.
I want to lead to the next thing, which is really, this was kind of a WTF moment for me too.
Oh yeah,
more so.
Yeah, that was a WTF for me.
Which is actually no. Before that, you want to talk about what leading up to the Last Supper. There's this kind of
slow mo.
It's stupid. It's
the
really
slow mo stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my. Ugh.
This was bad. This was bad. This is
bad filmmaking. This is just bad filmmaking.
This is where he fell into a bad Christian.
I'll quote what you say. The wheels are coming off. Of it. The wheels are coming off this wagon. All these slow motion scenes.
Okay, so what happened was basically as we're leading up to the Last Supper.
Corny too.
By the way, they were making all the disciples, I think, a little too aware of what was about to happen.
And
which
they wouldn't have been.
If you read the Gospels, they're kind of surprised that he gets arrested. So
he kept saying, I'm going to.
Even though Jesus kept saying it.
And they were like, oh, okay, that's not you. So we want to go to such and such to get some pita bread, And he's like, they're not hearing.
Which they showed in the story. They showed that he wasn't getting through to them. That
and so by the time we get to the garden, they holy smokes.
But
leading up to that,
before they reach the supper,
they all had a moment,
walking,
a profound
heading to the upper room,
and they look. Matthew looks at a piece of paper and a denarius, and
and
I'm having
shows a memory and
a profound moment. This might mean something. And then they showed Simon the Zealot. Oh, I see a knife. Oh, he's cutting with the bread. This might mean something to me later.
By the way, so
it was very destiny
good storytelling. If you're gonna have a flashback, this needs to do two things at least: flesh out the character, like something we didn't know about them. Or tell the expand the plot. Tell about the
exposition.
Plot. Exposition, and it did, and all those flashbacks did neither.
And as they were going through all of them, by the time we get to the third disciple, are
they going through all the 12 disciples?
Which is drawing out the storyline.
That's another thing, by the way. They clearly were just drawing this season.
It was so corny.
They didn't have enough material to make it 8 episodes, and they had to just draw it out.
It was just so ridiculous.
Oh my gosh! How many long scenes with Pontius Pilate and Caiaphas?
But the slow mo stuff.
Yeah, and the slow motion.
I wrote down that.
So and they showed slow motion.
It was so corny. I ended up making a dance out of it.
Yeah.
Because it was like, and then this happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's happening and what it did to me. A glass of wine. Oh, what it did to me. A pen. What it did to me. Are we gonna go through everybody?
That was a bad moment.
That was a bad moment. That was amateur hour.
Amateur hour,
student filmmakers would snicker underneath their breath. If they saw that.
It was brinking on the corny Christian.
It was. It was. The curtain dropped, and that's right. I forgot. You are those Christianese filmmakers. You're like Sean McNamara and the Irving brothers. Mm-hmm. It's starting to. The wheels are coming off, and now I'm going to turn the other way and run. Yeah. And go. Okay. What's Michael Mann doing? You chased me into the Michael Mann movie. I'm gonna go see Heat again. And then
and this was all leading up to the Last Supper.
The Last Supper, which he
did.
But
get this, if you haven't seen it, they decided to break up the Last Supper, and you're seeing bits of it in the beginning of each show. So
each episode,
7 different segments of breaking up the Last Supper into these segments, but. That's bad enough, I think, already by the fact that you're breaking up a very momentous moment. To top it off, they show it backwards. They literally break it up into 7 segments and decide to show the last part first, and then And
I'm confused.
And so
thinking, where are we?
You're not gonna have a full, clear understanding of that scene.
Yeah.
And honestly, you even forgot that they did the whole bread and the wine,
the communion.
The communion. You're like, they showed that.
Because he is the communion. He is the Passover.
Yeah.
Jesus is the Passover.
I'm sorry. And I'm sure even fans, you have to admit, that was disappointing. That was disappointing.
That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous and blasphemous.
Yeah.
You want to do blasphemy? That's why.
Yeah, and the reason I say it's blasphemous is because, again, it was confusion.
It was confusion, and confusion is the
work
baby
of the devil,
is the baby of the devil, basically. And
Yeah.
so he Da Vinci coded. I would call it that. I said, what is it with the
Last Supper?
The Last Supper, where you have the Olympics. They they pissed on it, and then they got all of a sudden Paris went black at night, except for one little church on a hill. What is it that the movie itself by Dan Brown? He Da Vinci coded.
Did something weird with that. Yeah.
Weird. I'm sure some weird stuff happened. Of course.
They tried to say.
Of course, it was Tom Hanks, and that makes some sense. That makes perfect sense. And then. There was something else that messed it up,
Well, people have been a lot of times doing some subverted version of it.
Right. What is it about the because why? I will tell you why.
Because Jay-Z did something.
Yeah, Jay-Z did. All the other some rap artists and stuff do some kind of blasphemous rendering.
That one cartoon by Nick Kroll. They did something with
demons. And that's just that's unholy, and unfortunately, people who do that will pay for it. Something. I hope you're.
Yeah,
I hope you know how to go downstairs, right?
I think, again, this is the moment. This is the Passover dinner. That's the Last Supper.
Is Jesus telling us, "I am the bread broken for you. I am the wine that
my blood
spilled for you." And that is being totally torn to pieces.
I think it's interesting. We see the world mess with that, and I find it interesting that he messed with it.
In the Christianese world, he messed with it. It's convoluted. It's completely destroyed. The significance and the weight of that moment. He's basically it is the foretelling of him about to be nailed to the cross as the bread of life.
And honestly, it's just. This is again showing student film quality amateur hour.
Yeah,
because I feel
frankly, this scene insults student filmmakers.
Okay, editing is very important in film too, and editing is for a particular reason. Why show it backwards? See, if people think
inverted,
you think because it wasn't.
Frankly, that's kind of demonic.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah,
that's
frankly,
the thing.
It's demonic to show the truth inverted.
That's why it's good. You have to be trained in filmmaking because everything is deliberate. Because everything has to be deliberate because everything means something in film.
Right. So I find it interesting that you would take the truth of God and invert it and make it backwards. That's something out of hell.
Yeah. Well, because you think about people. What was in Memento? Well, Memento, it was on purpose because he wanted to have people experience someone who had short-term memory. So that was on purpose. That was why he did it. Why did he do it?
Spreading the gospel.
Yeah.
Either.
Why would? Yeah. Yeah. But it had a reason. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
You can't just do stuff for no reason. It's amateur hour when people do something for no reason,
Yeah, just to be.
Let's do it. What was it? I Still Believe. It's a romance film basically.
Yeah.
And they had these aerial shots.
Christian.
Yeah, done by another Christian filmmaker who hasn't been trained in filmmaking.
Right. He had aerial shots. They were ominous. Very ominous shots.
Aerial shot.
I was thinking,
just to give a small lesson here, high angle shots tend to make people look diminished. Like they're being watched or like they're being some.
Right, that's what they use them in crime movies. If you see a crime movie.
And
Collateral.
Over
the shots.
Alien movies tend to have aerial shots
because you're being watched.
Like
the signs.
It's ominous.
It's ominous, and they had them in a Christianese romance.
Romance.
And I thought, is something gonna happen?
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh, Godzilla's not coming out of the water. It's just a love story.
Yeah.
I Still Believe. Okay.
So then going back to this, so what did it end up saying? Like you said, you basically ended up, by showing it backwards, it makes it inverted. So you're inverting the message of Jesus.
Yeah, the truth. And this is the most important because this is the night he's going to be arrested, and he's telling him one last time.
Yeah.
One last time, I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be broken.
Yeah.
And as the bread of life, my blood's going to be spilled. This is the last time he's telling him, and one of you are going to betray me. Mm-hmm. And then he puts it all inverted. I don't know what was going on in your head, Mr. Jenkins.
He tells them to love one another as I have loved you. Yeah. This is a very important moment that
and
to break it up, it removes all emotion, all.
I was looking forward to it. I thought they were going to do it. He was going to do a good job. He's trying to be some, I don't know what demons are whispering in your ears.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But that was demonic.
Yeah, and again, I would just love to mention, they did a much better job in The Passion of the Christ with that moment. And
the juxtaposition of it.
Yeah, and they didn't even show the whole scene, but
you got it.
They juxtaposed it with
got the power
the actual
of that.
crucifixion.
Yeah, when they rip his robe in half, then they breaking of the bread, and they show the bread
being unveiled. And they showed his body being unveiled by them ripping the clothes open.
And then them breaking the bread.
And then he was being nailed.
He breaks the bread. Why? Because he's saying, I allowed this to happen to me, so I'm doing it here.
Yeah, they even have that line in it. They flash back to him on the Sermon on the Mount saying, no one can take my life.
Yeah, that moment, Yeah. So
it's such a great moment, and you fully understand.
Yeah, him pouring the wine. He's pouring the wine for us. His blood is being shed. And you're because Mel Gibson is very good at visuals and stuff like that. And I'm offended, frankly, Mr. Jenkins, that he did not take a cue from that as a lesson. Do you think that you're some genius and you could esoterically come up with your bullshit?
Mind your language.
Sorry. Cut. Esoterically come up with your garbage.
That's to me a WTF moment.
Yeah, that's the worst. I would say that's a pretty bad one.
Pretty bad.
And then in the Garden of Gethsemane.
There's another. I'd say that's another WTF moment. Okay. By the way, just to go back to for a second about the Last Supper, he completely forgot his audience. I think he was forgetting that this is supposedly for non-Christians, right? This is for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even Christians who don't have a very deep
relationship with their Bible.
Yeah.
Yet. Please do after this.
How many? Is he forgetting that there's a lot of people who don't know the
scene
of the Last Supper? That it would be great if you told it.
Yeah, it could have been so dramatic and beautifully done. It's just he jacked it up.
You're forgetting the audience, and this is something I've noticed with a lot of directors, and I have to say I've noticed this with Christopher Nolan too. They're forgetting their audience. They're starting to forget,
Yeah, but I need to hear your movie,
who this is for.
Yeah.
Tom Hooper forgot with Les Miserables. It's going to be a live performance.
No, it's not. We go to a movie theater. They're not live.
It's not going to be live.
It's not live. They're not coming out of the movie screen and they're going to sing in front of me. That's called a Broadway show. And I did see the show and I've dressed the show. That's live.
Yeah.
This is a movie. Oh, but it's live. No, it's not. Do you need something? Do you need to? Do you need to be convalescent for a while and get given a binky and put back to bed?
Yeah.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah. As we are nearing the end times, it does say that the Antichrist, and I'm not like, it might sound like harsh when I'm saying that, but Antichrist basically means something in replace of Christ and misleading people. Yeah. And so if you think about it, you might say a film that is supposedly representing Christ,
a very popular television show,
but misleading people about Christ is in a sense a kind of Antichrist entity.
It's feeding into that beast.
Yeah.